You were talking earlier about the connection between people and nature.
Yes.
And I know many people who are looking at nature as something they can use.
Yes.
So they're not looking at nature as something they should care for.
Ah, yes.
So how does that relate to your vision, to your the way you live here, and where is this coming from?
Where does it come from? I've always had a feeling that nature is something very sacred. We take it for granted, and we as people tend to just reap from it to our benefit. And a very good friend of ours always said, Mother Nature, Father Factory. Yeah? Everything that comes from the factories, you cannot give it back to nature because it's being so processed that it's very difficult to give back to nature. But if you work with nature, if you use a banana leaf as a plate, and you have your food scraps, you can give that back to nature, you can give that to the chickens, they'll process it for you. But I think one of the crucial elements that we've lost is that we are nature. We are so much of nature, but we're so absorbed by what the world is being created to be, the world, that we tend to forget that there is something that's called nature. I mean, why do we call it the concrete jungle? Do you see much nature in the jungle? And if there is a tree, they might remove the tree because the roots are up lifting the road. I mean, yeah, it's not beneficial for us. On the contrary, nature is so beneficial for us. I mean, it can heal you. You don't need medicines that were made by pharmaceutical companies. You need the knowledge to understand how you can use nature to do everything for you by understanding the energy of nature. It's tremendous. It's so, it's almost like so much. You can't, it's overwhelming. Yeah. And that's why I love it so much, because it responds very fast or very slow, if you know how to look at nature. Yeah. But everyone can, because they are. We've just lost the way to look. Yeah.
Can you tell a little bit of how that could really look like, for using maybe this village or this place as an example?
An example of how nature could look like?
How can we live in harmony with nature?
How can we live in harmony with nature? I think the first thing is to be really true to yourself. We very often try and walk away from so many things in life that we tend to forget. So we screen off. If we're honest with ourselves, we can actually say, I'm not the best at everything. I don't know everything. Because society requires of me to be the best, to be the winner in everything I do, to have the fastest, the most, and if I'm not successful. Yeah? On the contrary, you don't need much to have a lot. There's key figures in my life. Nelson Mandela. When I was in his cell on Robben Island, I realized this man understood what it was to be free. It's here. You have the freedom of choice to decide to be free. By saying, today I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to try and do that. That, to me, is a first step. By taking chances and risks, I feel is very important. But knowing that nature will provide. And meeting people that are like-minded, and that you feel that you have a social network, even if it's one person, that you can share your inspiration with. Because very often, two people have two separate jobs. They come home at night. They don't want to talk about their work because they've been in it all day. Yes? They're tired. They plonk themselves in front of the television. They're loaded with all this information about how bad they are and they need to do all these good things by spending more. But what we do here is we have my partner, the children here, we all talk about what's happening here, because this is where it happens. We have technology, we have internet, we're in the middle of the rice field, there's nothing around us for the next kilometer, but we have internet, and we're not saying that you should not use technology. On the contrary, it's the most fantastic tool, but don't rely on it 100%, because there is examples in the world, as in China, as in Egypt, when there's a revolution, first thing that's cut, communication. Because when people communicate, they become powerful. And that's the key value here. We communicate about the things that are relevant in life. Yeah? It's not about the flashy car. No, it's about how are those ducks doing today? Or one of our chickens died. Why did it die? Those kind of things. They're relevant because they're our source of food.